Roller coaster of cheating the past 2 years. My wife 28F I caught cheating on me emotionally through an online relationship through gaming October 2020 while we lived an ocean apart from this person located in Southern California. She said let's work it out, and I caught her still talking to him. November 2021 I moved out for 3 months. I decided to move back in January 2021 and then I found it again in June of 2021. I'm a ducking idiot, I know. Things get to a neutral stance at this point as I don't want to disclose information of why I didn't leave or split, because it will very much give context to who I am. Just understand that up until May 2022 we were unable to be separated for reason out of our control. It seems like we're working on our relationship but it's not getting better or worse. I have anxiety of her cheating and depression so I end up on Zoloft. I felt physically agitated daily and unable to concentrate. It works for the most part to help with some depression I already had and some anxiety. From June 2021 May 2022 I will say the meds helped me not be overwhelmed with the issues I had, but I wasn't working on cognitive therapy. I tried to stop the meds but all of those emotions came back so I got back on Zoloft again. We moved back to the East Coast May of 2022 and she said at one point she would want to see her family in San Diego, implying that she would go alone. Remember, this is also where this guy lives. I have family there as well, which I was thinking I would eventually visit since it had been several years. August of 2022 I start to check her Apple Watch for messages. It appears she is messaging a new guy, nothing beyond friendly, but I notice there are good morning and good evening text. In my mind this is typically for people of interest or dating. I confront her about this and she is upset, and now I can even see her Apple Watch. It is hidden and never to be seen. September 2022 she informs me she purchased a ticket to California with insurance to see her family and friends. She didn't talk to me beforehand or try to inquire if I wanted to go. She was worried I would be mad and she got insurance in case she wanted to refund. I was a little frustrated because she knew I would have wanted to go to see my family too, but I just kind of let this go. 2 weeks later she is enthusiastic to get me a plane ticket now to San Diego. This confused me because she had no initial plans. Now from September to October she isn't really making plans with me to see family or spend time together and has planned to stay with her friends and advised that I stay with my family. 1 week before the trip she sits me down and starts to tell me that she has had no interest in S-time and does not find it enjoyable. She states that she believes she may be a S-time ool. In my mind I can only think of all the times we had S-time and it was reciprocal. She states that I am touch love language and she only does it to make me happy. We maybe have S-time once a month or every other month if that. I never really press it either because I got tired of being rejected. She also states she would never want a kid with me. I feel as if she is finding reasons to not want to be with me. She then says she wants to be in California and not have me with her during our trip. Several days later she requests marriage counseling, which on the initial cheating she was iffy on if she would want to go. I scheduled the appointment for after our trip. First session is in 3 days. We go on the trip to California and none of it was together but to see her mom for breakfast for 2 hours. She is texting me regularly throughout the week-long trip, which confused me because it sounds like she didn't want me around. I come back to California and become distant, and now she is super touchy and lovey like what happened before the trip wasn't an issue. I am distant because I'm unsure of how to take this or read it. I have concerns if she planned to cheat in San Diego or she did. I have confronted her straight on and I feel like constant deflecting and I'm the bad guy for trust issues. She spends hours on her computer playing video games, which I think is a form of escapism, and she has mentioned being depressed. I am the breadwinner and I believe that she doesn't want to leave because everything logically makes sense to stay but her heart isn't in it. I feel like if I could have left in 2021 that would have been the perfect time, but I missed it. Do you think I should try this marriage counseling? Is this too far gone? Update: I need to pull the trigger to end it, but I'm scared. 2017 February I was in intense military training with a 40% pass rate and studying literally 12-14 hours a day. My wife was prepared for this and agreed and understood how absent I would be while talking with other wives and military members. I needed to pass this course to make the next rank or I was at risk of having to leave the military. She thought when I get home I have time to grocery shop and hang out. This stress builds from school as well as my relationship. I start talking to my friend, which I had a crush on but never made moves. I even hooked her up with my friend because I was married. She ends up telling me she had a crush on me and I said I did too. We left it at that, but still texted because we actually were friends. Nothing, Changed on the context of messages like flirting but frequency, which is where I cross the line. Wife finds out, I apologize as I stepped over what I would have deemed a boundary. I delete this girl, block everything, and honestly never talk to her again. 2020 August. Living in Japan as a military and COVID is in full swing. It's Japan, so they lock down way harder than the rest of the world. We can't leave our houses but stay on the military base. She says she is having a girls' night at a local hotel to decompress since everything was stressful. I agreed and she goes and has a good time. The next day around 12 p.m. I ask her where she is at since I knew checkout time was done and we lived minutes away. She tells me we're going to stay another night since we had fun and I was totally cool with this. That Sunday morning she says I need space when she walks in and she needs to work on herself and her career. I told her I support her and I double down asking how work is and trying to clean or help in any way possible. She sits me down several days later and berates me saying you don't get it. I need space. And I really didn't know how to serve her as a husband, so I just keep my distance. At this time I'm very sad and crying in the shower because I don't know what to do. We don't have time and we aren't doing anything to rectify this. I talked to a coworker and he asked me if she was cheating. My stomach had a knot. She became extremely bored and I advised her to play video games to pass the time. I purchased this computer in 2018 and we set up the password together. I try to log in and I can't. I tried to get on her phone and I can't. I then confront her directly and she denies having any other partners or interests. 2020 October. I go on a field exercise for a week and she is very interested in the time and place where I have to be. Normally this is a hard time because we will miss each other and we spend extra time together. She drops me off at the bus and no kiss for me goodbye. She tells me to not text her a lot for this space. I am fuming because I just wanted to know what was going on. In the field you only have time to think and it makes it even worse. I come back and I can tell as she picks me up she is annoyed. It's like I am a massive inconvenience. I am dirty so I shower and hope to have time with her and the dogs, but she goes right up to the computer. Days go by and I hear the speakers from her computer going off. I click the mouse and the computer is unlocked. I checked her email and I notice a Steam video game purchase gift for someone named Jay. She has had online friends but I do not mind as I understand things are tough right now. I go to her Discord and bam, I am flooded with calls, I miss you text, and emojis out the ass from Jay. I have just uncovered an affair and I immediately screenshot stuff on my phone. I break down and I'm just mad. I text her asking who Jay is. She immediately left work and apologizes and says she wants to work it out. I made 2 specifications to start this process. I asked her to change her password on the computer and her phone and stop talking to him. A week later I tried the computer and it was changed but everything was logged out so I couldn't see or log into anything. I then try her phone and it still hasn't changed. I confront her about this and she is caught. I told her I asked 2 simple things. I don't do anything drastic because I'm stuck in a military house in Japan without much recourse or ability to send her back as flights are quite limited. Remember that COVID thing. I decided to pick up my stuff and move out. I go to a barracks room that is temporary for 3 months. The whole time she is begging me to come back. I'm arguing with myself that the line had been passed, but I also am not a quitter. She one day goes ballistic and says I need to make a decision. I get online and start reading Emmit. The guy says if you decided to leave, how would it affect you 10 minutes, 10 months, and 10 years down the line? I felt bad because I believed I could manhandle this and wanted to counsel. I also have a troubled past which I believe to be a key factor into why I stay around. I moved back in after feeling somewhat empowered and grieving but happy to be with my dogs again. Another huge reason is shipping animals during this time was impossible and would have cost $6,000. I wouldn't have been able to keep them if I sent her back. I had them 10 plus years and had a responsibility to them to some extent as well. 2021 June. I log into her computer after 5 months. She wasn't expecting it. I find messages again from this guy and her. It has not stopped. I have a field exercise for a month so I leave. I have 9 months until I will have orders and it will take me back to the States. I go see a provider which puts me on Zoloft. I find benefit in this as I could not stop thinking about this as every day I was agitated and mad. I speak with a lawyer and he said it would be difficult to get the military to send her back with such limited time. Not that he advised staying, but he just wanted to let me know this may require us to live together for a bit longer. I think about this and let it ride. I wanted to see where my orders will be and they were stateside to the East Coast. 2022 May we bought a house and moved back. The rent and everything were crazy. As we come back she mentions traveling to California where our family is, but also conveniently so does that guy she was talking to. It is very much implied it would be without me. 2022 August I am told not to check her laptop, PC or phone as she will willingly hand it over. She gets notified if I log in. However, she knows I don't like that confrontation. I however did have access to her Apple Watch. I see in her messages she is writing this new guy David friendly normal text. It includes good morning and good night texts. I approach her and she is mad. I then never see her Apple Watch again. 2022 September she approaches me one evening and says she bought a ticket to California with insurance if I was mad that she was going without me. We never discussed it, gave me a heads up, or anything. I said I don't mind friends etc. and I was not jealous, but this was weird. I have never told her she can't do something. I just usually like any spouse give advice or feedback on decisions. I'm unable to really formulate a response as I am in shock. I have family in San Diego I hadn't seen in 5 years, and even if we weren't together that consideration would have been nice. 2 weeks later, I arrive home and she is making dinner. She says we need to plan my ticket to fly to California. I am taken aback because I wasn't even considered a few weeks ago. We buy the ticket and leading up to the trip she is dodging any specific questions or plans and isn't very precise with anything. She is staying with her friends and she wanted me to stay with my family. 1 week before the trip, she sits me down and is flustered. She says that she wanted to go and hang out with her friends and me to do what I wanted to do. She claims that she believes she is a S-time ool and that she has never enjoyed S-time. She believes that I am being held back career-wise because of her even though I don't have much care for the next promotion. She tells me she doesn't want kids. I have childhood trauma so I didn't want any for a while as I was seeing therapy to deal with it since 2014. However, before the cheating she did I was making progress and was warming up to it, but this ruined it all. I am taken aback because this is out of the left field as none of this has come up in discussion. It almost seems like she is trying to give me reasons to end it. I also don't even inquire about S-time anymore because of fear of rejection. She is requesting marriage counseling and I make the appointment. Trip to California. We fly different flights because of delayed purchases, plus I have to work one of the days. I land and she's texting me and pretty frequently. I am confused because it seems like she wanted time with her friends and time to decompress. It felt like she was trying to keep tabs on me. We meet up on the last day of the week of travel to see her mom for breakfast for 2 hours. We disperse again and fly home in separate planes and meet back at our home. After this trip, she is nice, touchy, and talkative. However, still consistent with no S-time. We go to counseling 1 week later. During this session, she admits she isn't over me talking to my friend back in 2017. She claims she doesn't want kids because I have trained her to think like that. I feel bad because I may have projected my childhood issues and insecurities on her. I have apologized and obviously dedicated my relationship to making it better by changing my ways, which include blocking 2017 girl and allowing her on my devices. She on the other hand has continued to go down that path where anything she says I cannot take at her word. She has not adjusted her actions and still leaves me questioning. She says that she now has her defense up because she based her whole world around me. That when I talked to the other girl it shattered that. I believe that, but I also was never informed that she was dealing with it still. We would discuss it but nothing to me seemed like it was dragging on. I would always reaffirm the same story of why it happened, what happened, and any questions. So much so I told her it was like visiting an old crime scene and seeing the same evidence. This has left me with no idea on how to fix it. She doesn't want me on her computer or phone, but that's the only way I see this improving. I find myself hating myself because I believe my 2017 issue caused this. I hate myself because I allowed her to pass a line, and writing this I want to shake sense in myself to leave. I hate that I can't get out of my head thinking she is cheating or talking to someone every second. The only solution I have right now that would fix what my meds can't would be to get out of the relationship. I am also unsure if the counseling we're doing will even be helpful. I find myself wanting to find a new partner, but I feel like she will destroy me. I believe her bringing up all of the issues is so I will be baited to end it and she can paint me as the bad guy that left. Question: should I bring up I want divorce during counseling? If not, when? How do I protect myself financially? Update: talk to divorce attorney, but I'm left with a big decision. 1. I finally made the decision to divorce. Yay. 2. I am military and was stationed in Japan for 4 years. My residency is in North Carolina and hers is in California, where we got married 2013. 3. We moved here May 2022 and I spoke with the attorney and they said our state requires 1 year of residency. 4. I am wanting to save my military retirement. She could get 50% the rest of her life before 10 years. Trust me, this makes me mad too. I could negotiate to give her stuff etc. to avoid this if she agrees. However, we hit 10 years in May of 2023. 5. My question is, should I bite the bullet and file in California and probably get fucked, or just wait it out here in Rhode Island? I believe the alimony etc. she wants will be higher in California. Update: ex-cheater has installed surveillance on home. My spouse that cheated on me consistently for 2 years has installed a Ring camera in her room where her stuff is. I said I would store it in the garage and she is threatening to come back if I unplug the camera or if I move her stuff. The camera is able to pick up audio, video, and also we can communicate through it. She is obviously on the house title and mortgage. She has moved from New England to California today. I have an appointment with my lawyer on Thursday at 1 p.m. Has anyone else dealt with this or have any advice in the meantime? I am also filing for a protective order because she has displayed several forms of domestic violence, like putting Apple Air tags in my car to track me, taking my credit card so I wouldn't have money, and things like that. Appreciate any advice. Story 2. I think I found a place to get help. Hello everyone. I stumbles on this subreddit and I'm thankful. It's been a year since my relationship ended with my partner leaving me for another man. And for a year I've been bottling this in because none of my friends were in a long-term relationship. Nor did any of those in a later had trust issues from their partner sneaking around and had their relationship end with infidelity. And today I was driving and was crying because I didn't know how to get help. Everyone around me just said get over it, it's over, and don't understand the pain of how it ended. And I've been reading a lot of posts and think I found a place I can get help. I was starting to hit rock bottom. Because my last relationship before this one, which only lasts 9 months, ended in infidelity, and it took me 4 years to trust again. To get in a 6-year-long relationship that ended in infidelity. And I was questioning if I'm worth it. If all my meaningful relationships end with this, what's the point? I'd love to talk about what happened, but what to make sure I'm in the right place. Mainly because of some doubts put in my head. Like we've had 3 occurrences of her sneaking behind my back, and when we were breaking up she told me she was always faithful and then started yelling at me as to why I didn't trust her friend. And then that night she was gone and I found all our time toys missing, and when I called her he picked up. The friend I should have trusted. And because of that I don't know if it's lies or just. It's put so many doubts in my head that I've been going back and forth on. Maybe it started after the breakup? But she was at a friend's when she called to break up. I just want to know I'm in the right place to share my story. Update: it has been a year and I haven't told anyone my story. Only parts but never everything. Hello everyone. I have been for a year bottling in what I call my 2 weeks in hell. It's the name I use to avoid thinking about any of the details besides 1 or 2 I give to someone to explain why it was hell. And I'm the kind of man who doesn't bottle things up. I believe it's unhealthy and only leads to bad things. If you need to cry, it's okay. Maybe not in public, but when you get home it's okay. And for a year I've been refusing to cry. Refusing to think about what happened. Nightmares keeping me awake for months. I was too afraid to tell my friends because I felt they wouldn't understand. And I lost the friends who were there when it all happened because I became hysterical. And even writing it down I think will help. Okay, here we go. A year ago my dad was pushing me to visit my uncle in Texas. Like was really pushing and said it was important. Things were rocky with me and my ex. We had a nasty fight about how I can't trust her, and I said it's because she's gone behind my back and snuck around 3 times. She said nothing happened, but sneaking to your coworker's house and my coworker's house and not saying anything is crossing a boundary and seems odd. And I found out when my friend who lived next door told me. The day comes to leave and I had a gut feeling to not go. But I went as my dad pushed me. In Texas my uncles and dad come to tell me that one is dying and how they want me to be the benefactor. And I was pushing my ex to make new friends. And she was at her friend's and in a state of emotion turmoil. Tried to call her. She would text I'm leaving in 10 minutes, hold on, and then an hour later I would go, please, is this really what you think of me? When she did call she said she wanted out. I asked her to please not make a decision until I get home. I rushed home from Texas. When I got home she had a few bags packed and told she was done and I can't change, and we talked before she left. About how I can stay but still owe half the rent and will figure out the split in a month. She said she was going to her girlfriend's house for moral support. She was gone for 4 days. And the police came by when she didn't show up to work. And I told them she left and they asked did I do anything to stop her. I said no, she's free, and over 21, what was I supposed to do, grab her? He said you handled it well son, and left. I texted her friend and her friend said she's sleeping. When she got home the next day she was glowing and happy and I told her what happened and she said nice, my girlfriend covers for me, and I went what? And she told me she was in the woods with her old coworker who her and I fought about. She went to work for a week and I made breakfast, packed lunches and made dinner. Drew her a bath every night, and one night she dragged me off the couch and told me to cuddle her. For 8 hours I laid there crying. Just so hurt. When she woke up she looked at me and smiled and I said hi and we talked before she shoved me off of her. She stood up and got dressed and told me to not get any ideas. That was only for her and not for me. I just sat on the bed and said I pray no man hurts you as much as you or me right now. She then told me to leave as she was getting dressed. I left and she called me in half naked and started yelling at me about how she never cheated in our relationship and her coworker is only a friend. She leaves and I, who doesn't drink, goes to a bar. I have a few beers and met up with old friends. A told me they hardly heard from me. Said I used to be really active and social but just disappeared. I went home and noticed something weird. I opened our drawer and one of our toys is missing. I opened our toy box and over half were gone. She wasn't getting dressed, she was packing. I called her up and she says what? I sat in silence for a second before I said, so you quit relationships like you do jobs? Gotta have the next one lined up? And then he took the phone. Told me how I'm a duck up. How he was in the army and killed people and how he has a degree in psychology. And how he will treat her better, berating me on every point I make and just twisting things. One point he said you've been together 2 years and, both her and I at the same time say 6 years not 2, and he paused for a second before going back to how I will pack my stuff and get the hell out of the house. And he hung up. And 2 weeks later I came to 200 miles away with plans to go to a strip club with an old friend. My therapist said trauma can cause blackouts. And I booked him the first time she left. Like the minute she walked out the door. But even typing this up, the pain is. After 6 years. Was any of that real? If that's how you end it. I wouldn't conceive of doing this to an enemy, less alone a love or past love. The times we had problems she told me to sleep with some and get even, and I told her no. I wouldn't do that to someone I loved. And I just feel replaced like a bad car part with no value as a human being. Easily replaced, and you can have fun and shoot it with a gun after. It's garbage, who cares? When we started dating on our 3rd date she hugged me and said I choose you. And at the time I thought, oh, I'm chosen, that's nice. Wait, what does she mean? But that then said her and her ex were fighting and he was coming at her. I told her that I'm not going to get involved because I know how devastating it is to a man to have the new boyfriend tell you go away. She got mad and they felt with it. And eventually I figured out, though context of conversations about him, that I think she cheated on him with me. And I just. Was anything we had not real? It was to me? But was it to her? Thank you very much for taking the time to read this. And even if it writing the story helps. Update, after admitting I'm not at fault for their infidelity. My emotions have changed and I don't like it. Hello everyone. After a year from my D-Day I was hitting rock bottom. Questioning every fiber of who I am as a human. Questioning what I did to deserve this. What I could have done to avoid it. And after reading the stories of those going through the same and posting my own, it's helped. I see I'm not alone. That other feel this scare as well. And they know the pain and scare of the betrayal and the gaslighting to make you think you're at fault. And once the feeling of loss and inadequacy faded with the realization I'm not alone and I'm not responsible for what they did, it turned into anger and rage. Rage that someone who said they loved me gaslight me. Anger that someone who said I was their soulmate and felt a spurt bond betrayed me. And I hate it. I loved her. And true love is one of the best for someone else, even if it don't involve you. But did you have to burn me and twist the blade? And I hate the rage and anger. I'm a pacifist and this whole experience has made me feel rage and anger I never have and never wanted to. One and one just ask. How? My only theory is they gaslight themselves or let the AP convince them, but I just can't wrap my head around watching someone you love or loved cry like a baby as you betrayed them and go, yeah, I'm a good person, it's their fault. She had a look on her face that said I'm sorry, but that's it. She looked like she was in so much pain seeing me like that. And still went off and slept with her AP and had him throw me out. Update, progress after a year and I feel good. Hey. It has been a year and a half since D-Day 4. The last year has been hell with finding no motivation or care to do work. Got demoted at work, failed 2 classes, lost almost all my friends. But yesterday I convinced myself to stop and spent $1,000 refurnishing my new apartment the way I want it. No having to ask if this good or can we have this. I then made steaks with my friend and didn't remember until the streaks were done at 9:30 p.m. that it's my ex-wife's birthday. I plated the steaks and poured wine and made a toast. To my ex-wife, if she didn't have an affair I'd be making her this meal, and another 4 courses, may she remember that at her dinner tonight. I feel good. It don't think about her till late afternoon or early evening and forgetting her birthday is big. Her and my B-days are a week apart. And I'd make her dinner on hers. We'd have a party 3 days later for both of us and then my B-day 3 days later. I was more fixated on planning my first B-day party on my actual birthday to remember it was hers. I think that's progress and feel good. I'm moving on. Slowly but surely. Update, I saw a ghost from my past while coping with infidelity of last relationship. Hey, just needing a bit of advice today as some very weird coincidence happened this week. My counselor and I are starting my PTSD treatment and he was telling me how he added a life event I left out that he feels contributes to the PTSD and loss of my 6-year relationship. That being when I was 13, my 13-year-old GF of 9 months cheated on me with a 23-year-old. I wrote it off and he said he felt it contributes to the PTSD of my ex-wife having an affair and leaving me for another man. Saying I didn't deal with it then and when this happened the trauma has heightened. I went maybe it was over 10 years ago and I haven't seen her in 7. Then 4 hours later I was walking down the street to work and a girl looked up from her phone and dead stoic jaw dropped and stared at me. I looked around and she was staring at me. Sat down and thought a bit rude, but who was that? Then it hit me, it was my ex from when I was 13. I haven't heard from her in 7 years. And I'm proud and happy she's trying to go back to school. But I definitely think I see what my therapist said. And now for 2 days I've been comparing the situations. And it does not help because I am not angry at my ex from 13. We were 13 and she was very obviously abused, tricked, and used. I feel anger at her parents for letting it happen and I was just another casualty, but she was the victim. And it's adding anger to my ex-wife. Who was 22, not tricked as far as I know and left and did all this on her own intuition. Just now the past 2 days I've been a bit in my own mind. Been using grounding techniques and that, but it's been overwhelming. And well, honestly, I'd love to talk to my ex from 13. Last time we talked 7 years ago, it was on a very sweet note and I got what I call closer, but yeah. Not really sure what to do or what's going on. Update, how did you guys get rid of the anger or cope with it? Hello everyone. My D-Day 4 was almost 2 years ago and I haven't slept properly since then. When I sleep I relive the situation and get too upset to sleep. It feel like I hit a big bump in the road and I finally figured out why. If you want to read the whole story, look at my posts. Out of all of the emotions I've allowed myself to express and feel, anger has not been one. I've cried, I've been to therapy, I've let everything out but my anger. I haven't because I don't want to be angry at someone who I once loved. I don't want to feel hate for someone I once would have killed and died for. In the 2 years since I still haven't called her the B word. Even in the breakup and confrontation I didn't. And it's funny to me because I walked out of the house and she followed me and said, I know I'm being one, just ducking, call me it, and I refused. But now that anger is affecting my life. Causing deep depression and sorrow. But what can I do? I don't want to become an angry man, but I feel if I hold on to it I will be. And I'm definitely a people pleaser to the point I get walked all over. It's happened a lot and this ain't even my first relationship to end in an affair. It's just the one that hurts the most. I don't know what to do. Does anyone have any advice?